The Grand Rivers Chamber of Commerce welcomes you to the Grand Rivers Quilt Show. Our show is a viewer's choice, so they get to vote on the quilts, and then we give $1,500 worth of prize money to our winners. The money that we collect goes to various charities, to our Helping Hands. We give a $1,500 scholarship out to 2 high school students. We sent 4 children to camp last year. We gave money to Book for Hope, I believe it's called, families that children have cancer. We've had visitors from 21 states so far, and that was the first day, from London and from Scotland.
Hi, my name is Irene Rising. I live in Paducah now. I moved from Evansville to Grand Rivers and had a quilt shop in Grand Rivers until the year 2006, and then I moved to Paducah because I went back into nursing for the insurance. My friend Anna Mitchell and I started this quilt show in the year, I think it was 1999 or 2000, I'm not sure which, but when I moved down here and opened my quilt shop, we needed a quilt show and take advantage of all the people that were coming to Patty's. So my husband and Anna's husband, Wayne Mitchell, built all the frames and we started the quilt show here. It was run by the quilting ladies here in Grand Rivers, and then taken over later by the chamber. This quilt here is made, it is a backing to a quilt. The whole thing is one piece, and then I had so many scraps that I put the scraps together in circles, and then I put this whole backing on the floor and then started throwing my circles down to see where they landed, and that's where I stitched them on. So it's just my scrappy quilt and using up a lot of my scraps. I'm so into quilting now. The quilting is what had me move from Evansville, because I was an RN in Evansville for years, but always came down here for the quilt show. So when I retired, it was like, and Grand Rivers was our favorite place to come to. We camped here all the time and came here every year. So I wound up buying a house here and starting quilting here. This quilt here is called Sundial, and it's a Judy Niemeyer pattern. I was so intimidated and afraid to do a Judy Niemeyer paper piecing technique, but I wound up putting it together. 2 other friends and I got together and we sewed and we helped each other, and we each got one of these done. And then I wanted to make mine bigger because it's going to be a wedding present for my nephew when he gets married. He's engaged now. So to make it bigger, I added the flying geese, 3-dimensional flying geese, and added more on top and bottom to make it so it fits a king-size bed. And it's going to be his special wedding present.
This quilt was made by Bobby Green from Paducah, Kentucky, and it hung in the quilt show in Paducah in 2012. We feel very fortunate to have her hang her quilt in our show this year. The name of the quilt is Ladies of the Sea. The techniques on this are needle turn applique and hand quilted. This is a wool applique quilt made by Dee Robinson from Eddyville, Kentucky. A wool applique has become very popular in the last few years, and it's all wool and all hand appliqued. This quilt was made by Linda Smith, who lives right here in Grand Rivers. She was part of the quilt club here for years, and the quilt club ran this show for lots of years. The Chamber of Commerce runs it now, but it is hand appliqued and machine pieced. This quilt was made by June Colby from Marion, Kentucky, and I'm just going to read you her story. Rose's Week's Worth. It was 7 vintage 1940s days of the week textiles, and she made this quilt for her great-granddaughter, Kendall Rose Colby. This is a Sunbonnet Sioux quilt made by Candy Talent, who lives right here in Grand Rivers. This is the challenge. It's a 24 by 24 quilt, and we have a different theme for the challenge every year. This year it was a movies theme. So each quilt was supposed to portray something about a movie. Some of them are real obvious, like Steel Magnolias and Jaws, and some of them it takes a little more imagination to remember which movie it was. I think the horse is Black Beauty. And the one up in the right-hand corner has a quote from Love Story. Love means never having to say you're sorry.
My name's Diane Philbeck, and I did this quilt 37 years ago. It cross-stitched it, and it was a kit. The thread wasn't included, but I picked out the thread, and it's been hand quilted. And I guess it's lucky because I did it when I got married, and we're still married.
This is my quilt. I love hand embroidery, so I embroidered all these blocks and then put it together in this quilt and for my daughter for Christmas last year.
My name is Diane Philbeck, and this is my quilt, and this is a row by row that I did 6 years ago with the Livingston County Quilters. And when I got back into quilting, I didn't quilt for several years raising kids, but I really like this one.
I'm Susan Lambert. I've been doing this show for 9 years now. And every quilt I've entered has been bee-related because I'm into bees. It's a practical joke that turned into the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. My house is done in bees, my deck is done in bees, my yard is done in bees, and all but the bedroom didn't have bees until I did this one. So now my husband has to sleep with bees, but I did the curtains for the house, the dust ruffle, and the quilt, and pillowcases for it.
This quilt belongs to Donna Fox from Simpsonia, Kentucky, and it has a very sentimental story to this quilt.
This quilt was done by Donna's grandmother when she was 10 years old, and her great-grandmother's arm was broken from a fall in the home. They needed to get this quilt completed for the upcoming winter. It is hand-stitched with cotton as the fill, and if you look closely, you can see some of the cotton seeds in the lining.
This quilt was made by Deborah Lorraine Nunley from Lake City, Arkansas. It's pieced and raw edge applique. And she says it's a primitive Bible quilt by Jan Patek is the pattern.
Hi, I'm Georgia Bradshaw, and I quilt with St. Anthony's Ladies Guild Quilt. And this particular quilt is going to be raffled later in the fall. We do approximately 3 a year, and most of them go up for raffle. Sometimes it's individuals that we quilt for, but mostly, and there's a group of 5 women, and we meet every Tuesday, and I think I just recruited 1 more lady today. So we'll have 6 pretty soon. We're a very small church, but this is our fundraiser to keep our church running. The material was donated by one of the parishioners, and it was, you had a choice. You could do a table runner, a quilt, or whatever. It was kind of a kit that she had bought up in Indiana. And it's called a tisket, a tasket. And the baskets are just kind of juxtapositioned. They're not normally standing upright, but it gives you a very good visual. Nice colors, goes with any room. We're very proud of our group, and the work that they do is all hand-stitched, of course. In addition to quilting, which was one of my passions for a lot of years, I also, during COVID, got to revive another passion, which is art and painting. And I used to paint nothing but oil, but I found acrylic pleases me better because it dries faster, and I can do all of my dreams, which is what I say I do. I dream paintings and then I do them. And so I've done it for the last 3 years, and I was at the quilt show for 2 years now, and enjoy meeting all the ladies that we both have things in common. I have done the unique ones like this, which are a frame built into a canvas. So the frame is already there and the middle is blank, and you paint whatever you like in the middle. And I only have 3 left. I can't get them anymore, so they're kind of exclusive. So I made sure that I did special pictures, which are cardinal, hummingbird, and the lion and the lamb.